Good afternoon and welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq. Joining with the market site in Times Square, we have DJ Chen. He's the CEO of Fusion. We also have John Liu, who's the Chief Product Officer over at Fusion. We're going to take a look at the United Nations blockchain initiatives and a lot of interesting initiatives going on at Fusion as well. Great to see you guys again. DJ, last time we met at the Digital Asset Summit back in May in New York City, you were the keynote, and you introduced your interoperability protocol, DCRM, and you described that as groundbreaking.
Yeah, DCRM actually it's very important in the interoperability features. Before I address this question, I would like to ask you a question. How many bank accounts you have?
I have one.
You have one?
One bank account.
I have a lot.
I have multiple investment accounts, but only one bank account.
Okay, there are a lot of people in this world who have multiple bank accounts. But the reason why they have multiple accounts in different banks, because actually the system in different banks, they don't talk to each other. And even today, in the blockchain world, there are a lot of cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum and other cryptocurrencies. But all of those cryptocurrencies, they cannot talk to each other. So it's very important that we introduce the interoperability features into the bank system, into the blockchain world, so that they can talk to each other, so that the Bitcoin, Ethereum, they can sit in one smart contract, which is not possible today, and we even can enable the bank system to talk to the blockchain in the future. So that's how the interoperability is so important to the financial world.
I mean, I think that's so key for digital assets, especially because it's so fragmented at this point.
Right.
And I remember the audience, they were very interested about the concept of time value of digital assets. What does that mean? What's a practical example you can give?
Yeah, time value actually, any type of assets, they have time value. Mm-hmm. But, today, the financial markets, they are really very sophisticated to extract the time value outside of a certain asset. But they are through the debts, options, futures, a lot of derivatives. But however, there are a couple of different ways the financial markets they are coming to this stage. They are trying to build up different systems and trying to have a lot of different infrastructures to support that. But they are introducing this time value progressively so that the derivatives, they are very hard to link to the underlying assets. But Fusion has factored the time value from the very beginning when the assets they are digitized, so that we can introduce a very simple way to have all of those assets. They can be easily linked to their underlying assets. So this is how we can provide a time value to the entire financial world.
Now, you were invited to speak at the United Nations on a panel addressing blockchain, how it can be a critical tool to help the unbanked and the underserved. Tell us more about that, and how does that fit into what you're doing at Fusion?
I mean, the Fusion's mission is to enable these innovative financial transactions in blockchain, in digital economy, right? And at the UN, what I discussed a lot was issuing debt on blockchain and how that solves the needs of the underbanked and the underserved areas and meets UN's Sustainable Development Goal number 8, which is economic growth, right? And how does Fusion do this? I touched on 3 points, really. There is the efficiency in which we can raise funds, both at the cost of raising funds is like 1/10 of the most efficient fundraising platform there is out there. The time it takes to raise funds, what takes days to happen can take hours in blockchain world today. So that was point number 1 that I raised. Number 2 was the transparency into how funds are deployed. Now, when you're actually deploying funds to the underbanked, underserved areas, unfortunately, there's also a lot of corruption and opacity, right? But with transparency on blockchain, you can see exactly where the funds are going to and how they're actually getting paid down real time, right? So that was point number 2 I made. And the final point was kind of what DJ talked about earlier, the interoperability. By creating a very powerful platform, bringing in all these different assets and information, because you might have information that sits on a database, you might have assets that sit on different blockchain, we can enable financial transactions that currently can't be done.
All right, now to wrap up here, you have 40 partners starting to use this protocol here, banks, several governments, and then you just made the switch in June to mainnet, and that went smoothly.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great success. You know, just in the first week after our mainnet just launched, we have over 270 different nodes all over the world from 4 continents. And just in the first 24 hours, we have over 250,000 transactions happening on our mainnet. So it was a really great success.
All right, and what's next for Fusion?
Yeah, there's 2. There's on the technology front, we want to continue building out what we set out on the white paper, the DCRM that DJ mentioned earlier. We're going to refine that. Decentralized oracles and multi-trigger smart contracts, that's something else we're going to build out. But what's also very important is the actual adoption. So you can think of it as the business side. Like, we built this great technology, so who's going to use it? We want to start bringing in the $12.2 billion of assets that were committed to come onto the Fusion network that we announced last year. And since then, we've also announced various partnerships, such as with AXP, where we're bringing on hundreds of millions of dollars of auto loans, and also in other areas with governments, where we're bringing on their stable coins. They have some stable coins they want to issue. They have some debt they want to issue. It's all about adoption and implementation for us.
All right, DJ, John, great to see you guys as always. Thanks for joining us. Thank you for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets